Come sit by me. Come sit by me.
All right, we'll sit over here. This looks like the Bennett area. Thanks for coming.
John, what's happening?
Surviving.
Can you sit in? Is this you? No.
Where would you like?
Oh yeah.
Sit right here.
Oh yeah. Is this
Come
yours?
feel the love.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it'd be great if you could introduce yourself when we do the introductions. And...
Yeah, I know.
Okay. Great. My goal is, I'm not going to try and answer every comment. We're accepting them, moving, including an analysis, see a formal response in. Yeah. Okay. That's what I thought. Yeah. Great. Okay, thank you.
Take it where I was. Just have it when it's you know why?
What's that? 16 and almost 13. Oh yeah. Yeah. It's a fun age. Got her license. Got an accident already. Yeah. Small one. How it goes. Yeah, that's for sure. Good evening, everybody. I just want to give a 2-minute warning that we'll go ahead and get started in about 2 minutes.
Because they're going to have a school there.
But what was that?
Oh, I said that's not bad. It's a little negative or a little.
Yeah, we'll scare them out just enough to say, interest rates are going up. Next time this happens, you're paying for a lot more of this. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Yep. Nice. Hi. Your name again? Kathy, good to see you. No minds have been made up. We're back again to show the progress from last year, and then we're collecting comments about what people want to see and what they don't want to see, and then that's what I'm about to say, and it'll go into the environmental document that's presented to the town council, then makes a choice on how to proceed. All right? Yes. Yes. Yes.
Right, it went behind there. Yeah, Bennett. Because my house was one of the original houses on Bennett back there. And then the old lady sold off her 20 acres or subdivided and touched it through the south end. That's why my old house used to sit cockeyed because its original background is on Bennett Road when it did run back behind the fire No, because Storybook goes down the canyon and then the old Bennett Road cut across Steve Jones' property and the back end of Kennedy and Hollyville Mobile Home Park all the way to the lady it's on the other side of the ground. Yeah, I let him take all this brush over and right here to come to the anyway.
I have gray hair.
Okay. I'm working on it.
He has silver hair, so that has to count.
Where do you go?
Right?
Where do you go?
Steve, right?
All right, we'll go ahead and get started.
I know you're
Got one more out in the hallway. Well, first and foremost, I just want to say thank you, everybody, for coming tonight. We're going to go ahead and get started.
You modular guys, man, that's what it is.
All right. Ready to get started? Yes? All right. Well, first and foremost, again, I'll say thank you so much for taking time out of your busy night and coming here to talk about the Southeast Paradise Evacuation Route Project. I do want to note at the top of the meeting, too, that if you're interested in attending and had to choose one between this meeting and the Climate Resiliency Plan meeting that's also happening tonight, if you want, you're welcome to stay afterwards because that meeting is going to come to you and start at the conclusion of this one. So if you want to attend both, just stay put. And about 7:30 or whenever this is over, we anticipate that the climate resiliency meeting will kind of have a similar presentation and open house forum for you to ask questions on that effort as well. So thank you so much for being here again. My name is Mark Maddox. I'm the Public Works Director and Town Engineer for the Town of Paradise, and it's my pleasure to be here with our project team, and we'll go through formal introductions. But in short, this is the Southeast Paradise Evacuation Route Project public scoping kickoff as far as the environmental scoping meeting pursuant to the California Environmental Quality Act. The purpose of tonight's meeting is to make sure that we go over the project objectives, the history, the purpose and need, alternatives analysis, our funding, the environmental resources, and schedule and next steps. So with that, again, I'll introduce myself, Mark Maddox, Public Works Director. With me is Louis Johnson, our Supervising Project Manager. Also, town staff, Kevin Sorrow is here. Thank you, Kevin. And then, Travis, do you want to introduce yourself?
Sure. Let's start with myself. I'm Travis Howard. I am the project manager with Jacobs supporting this project. I have some colleagues here with me. Ashley Kellogg, our deputy project manager. I think she's out in the hall signing people in, as well as our environmental lead, Audrey Van. I think she's also out in the hall, but they'll be in here in a bit and are happy to help answer questions afterwards if needed. And we also have Val Redman, who's helping sign people in as well with Blue Flamingo, as well as Bree Coda over here running the live stream on YouTube for us. So that's our team today. And thank you all for coming. Appreciate you making it out and looking forward to hearing the comments.
Thank you, Travis. All right, so also as Travis just mentioned, we have a virtual meeting. This meeting is being recorded. Closed captioning is available, and the meeting recording will be available online after the meeting. We do want to note that any comments about the project should be submitted through written official comment submissions located on the website or here at today's meeting. And then if you remember being here last year and you have the same comment, you're welcome to submit another one, but all of the comments from the previous scoping meeting last year is also going to be included in the environmental record as in addition to the comments that we received tonight and through the end of March, or March 25th. So again, if you already submitted comments, just know those are being considered actively and will be addressed in the environmental document. And then also to close on this slide, following a presentation by the project team tonight, community members will have an opportunity to share their thoughts on the project here at the podium. Please note that any verbal feedback shared at the meeting tonight needs to also be written to be considered in the formal CEQA analysis. And if you need any assistance doing that, we'd be glad to help provide that service to you. But it's really important that your comments happen in writing, whether it's on a comment card tonight or on the website, before March 25th. Okay, so really quick, we'll go through the project history. The Town of Paradise has been planning an east-west connection in South Paradise as early as 1932, pre-incorporation from 1979 for sure. The Roe Road feasibility report was completed in its first version in 1991. And then obviously during the 2018 Camp Fire, there were numerous fatalities along disconnected, dead-end residential roadways that did not have direct access to existing evacuation routes, especially within this project area. The Roe Road Extension project was identified in the long-term recovery plan in 2019 and further affirmed in the update in 2022 for the Town of Paradise. And it would address residents' concerns, including evacuation routes, missing road segments, and walkability, bikeability, and long dead-end streets. The Roe Road project, again, I'll mention that it's been rebranded to the Southeast Paradise Evacuation Route Project, just so it is more clear about what the project is and has a different separation from the long-term goal of tying into the existing Roe Road. But anyhow, this project is identified in our Community Development Block Grant Disaster Recovery Action Plan, which if you're ever curious, you want to see how our disaster recovery funds that are allocated from HUD to the state level with HCD to the Town of Paradise and Town Council and community consideration and how those funds are being allocated. You can find those on our website in our action plan that again says where the funds are going for each of those types of projects, and I'll be able to show a little map of projects as well in addition to this one. So why are we meeting again? I think what I'd like to say at the top is just this is a perfect representation of the town's commitment to responsiveness to the community needs. We did this last year in June, and we considered all of the public feedback from that scoping meeting and the public comments that were received, and subsequently we revised the project in response to those comments. The revised project, again, now called the Southeast Paradise Evacuation Route Project, is described in detail in this presentation. And I'll say again, public comments from this scoping period and from the previous scoping period will be considered in the formal CEQA analysis. So the changes between the original scope, which I will refer to as the June 11th scoping meeting that we talked about, to tonight, can be shown here mostly on this slide, showing the cross-section. I'm going to try and use the mouse. Cross-section here on the top side, which shows a 42-foot wide project corridor down to a 36-foot project corridor with the revised project. The biggest difference is the allocation and abandonment of the shared use multi-bike pedestrian path on one side of the road. That was a major comment that we received from the community in the scoping meeting and the public comments. Was that the project was too wide and there was no need or desire to see the shared use path installed. And so with that, the current scope has been approved down to a 36-foot wide roadway with two 12-foot lanes and 6-foot wide bike lanes and shoulders. And again, in an emergency, a shoulder versus a bike lane can be really used interchangeably to help go around obstructions if needed. So it is a smaller project footprint, which reduces the amount of right-of-way needed and helps with project costs and, again, being responsive to the public desires to see changes on the project corridor. One of the biggest or other ways to understand the changes is the phased approach and delivery from a goal to connect Pence Road all the way over to Clark Road. And so that's been done through really honing in on phase 1A, which is South Libby connecting to Sawmill, connecting to Edgewood. And then phase 2, which would connect South Libby to Clark. And you can see on this map, there's multiple alternative alignments that we'll discuss in more detail here later in the presentation. So the purpose of the project is to provide a east-west route to improve access to the existing evacuation routes and connectivity throughout town. It's to eliminate roadway gaps in Southern Paradise to provide emergency responders and the community with an additional option for evacuation or daily access to the transportation network. It is also to improve emergency vehicle access and shorten response times, increase access to local and regional evacuation routes, Pearson Road specifically, as well as Clark Road, by establishing additional connections within those residential dead-end streets. And then also to increase emergency vehicle access via the expanded shoulders with the Class 2 bike lanes that during a mandatory evacuation can serve as an emergency vehicle access route as well. And then enhance the active transportation network and improve upon non-motorized user safety within the community. Sorry, the lights went out in the hallway, and I just want to make sure those can get turned back on. And do you know how to turn them back on, the dial? Yeah. Okay. You sure it's hidden? Yeah, here, you can keep. I'm just going to turn on the lights. 2 seconds. Thank you. I don't want to leave anybody in the dark. Thank you for your patience. Little hidden knob there. Okay, continuing right along to the need for the project. The 2018 campfire demonstrated the need for increased access due to evacuation routes that serve the town. During the campfire, numerous fatalities, as I mentioned earlier, occurred along the disconnected dead-end residential roadways like Edgewood Lane that did not have direct access to existing evacuation routes. The needs also demonstrated through limited emergency vehicle access that contributed to additional fatalities during the campfire because both lanes of evacuation routes were blocked by evacuating traffic and emergency vehicles could not reach the town. The existing evacuation and emergency vehicle access infrastructure is inadequate to serve the future evacuation needs during another wildfire or disaster. And then the town does have limited bicycle and pedestrian facilities, and bicyclists currently navigate roadways with limited bicycle lanes. Earlier I referenced that the Southeast Paradise Evacuation Route project is a piece of the town's overall project delivery portfolio. We're working on advancing the Paradise Sewer Project, repaving the entire town for public roadways, widening Pence Road between Pearson Road and Skyway, improving the Skyway and Pence intersection, adding a Class 1 bicycle path along the Pence Road corridor, and then widening and adding a bike path on Skyway between Billy and Wagstaff. And then last, adding the bike path along Neal Road between town limits and Skyway. So when it comes to the alignment development and the screening process, the project team evaluated several alignments, and when I say several, I mean very many, over the iterations of this project. Right now, we've demonstrated 6 total alignments for Phase 1A that were down to 4 for advancement and consideration in the environmental document. And then for Phase 2, 10 alignments were considered originally, and we are down to 2 alignments to be selected for advancement. These alignments were based on several criteria, including public and stakeholder support, county involvement, residential displacement, right-of-way impacts, project cost, schedule, pedestrian bicycle ADA use, traffic operations, emergency vehicle access, environmental impacts, constructability, and then, of course, bridge and wall needs. So again, this is a map of the overall project that we are here to discuss tonight. The routes highlighted in yellow are shown as far as the different alignments. For Phase 1, here are the 4 different alignments. They are alignments 1A, 1, 2, 3, and 5. And the goal for Phase 1A is to provide flexibility and adaptability for accessing different evacuation routes between these 3 long dead-end streets. So that if there is an obstruction on any one of them, you have access points up to Pearson that could go around, or access down to Phase 2, which has 2 alignments between 2A and 2J that have different connection points along Clark Road. And then this area in orange on alignments 2A and 2J is representative of necessary or needed bridges that would be required for those specific alignments. So honing in on the Phase 1A alternatives, Phase 1A is an approximately half-mile roadway to serve dead-end streets and provide an alternate connection between Edgewood Lane to South Libby. Again, this includes 4 alternatives that are being asked for comments on, alternatives 1, 2, 3, and 5. You'll see there's different strategies trying to, again, optimize the route between these roads, to provide connectivity, ease of access, but then also one of the comments we heard from the original scoping meeting was really a hesitancy to support an overall corridor that might feel like a long continuous street that might attract more traffic for residential neighborhoods. So with this, having the alignments a little bit further north, and being separate from Phase 2 provides that flexibility and responsiveness. Next, on Phase 2, I'll show alternative 2A. This one has the longer bridge, about 740 feet, at its highest point 100 feet off the ground, but still has the 36-foot wide project with the 2 travel lanes and the wide bike lanes. Alternative 2J has the shorter bridge at 175 feet, about 40 feet off the ground. And shorter bridge, same project footprint, just tighter curves, slower speeds, and a different connection point, again, closer to the apex of the curve for Clark Road near Lancer Drive. So for funding for the project, this project is fully funded through multiple sources, through Phase 1A, primarily through the Department of Housing and Urban Development, Community Development Block Grant funds, as well as a congressional earmark. And then Phase 2, a combination of funds through the Local Transportation Climate Adaptation Program, $33 million that has been secured there, and then the remaining project funds for Phase 2, again through HUD and those CDBG DR funds. So Phase 1A has an estimated cost range of 7.7 to 9.1 million, and Phase 2 has an estimated cost range between 41 and 61 million that again is escalated out to our construction years later in a few years from now. The environmental resources being studied as part of this environmental document include all of these listed: the aesthetic, visual resources, air quality, biological resources, noise and vibration, transportation, land use, cultural resources, tribal cultural resources, wetlands and jurisdictional waters, GHGs and energy climate change, geology, paleontology, hydrology, water quality, community impacts, again, very important for your input tonight, cumulative impacts, as well as construction-related impacts, and then, of course, mandatory findings of significance. One thing that's new during tonight's presentation from back in June, in addition to all of the other changes for the project scope, is we're in the phase of sending out requests for right of entry request letters that will be sent to property owners to facilitate field work for environmental studies. Letters are aimed to be sent out to property owners within the field survey area. We're hoping residents would be willing to grant those right of entries and letters for those non-invasive studies by April 8th of 2026. And then the field surveys would be completed between April to December 2026. And so you'd receive those in the mail if you're in fact within the project area that's requesting a right of entry. Overall schedule and next steps, I get this question a lot about where we are versus where a construction-ready version of the project would be. And this chain really does represent our current status very well. That we had the scoping meeting last year in June. The project has been revised, and that did take time due to funding requirements and approvals. And so with tonight, we're here at the second scoping meeting with the comment period request through March 25th. Once those comments are received, again, if there's comments for support, there's comments for disapproval, there's comments for things we should study and look at, you're going to hear us say, thank you so much. That's going to help make the environmental study effort and the draft environmental document all the better quality for you. And so while we may not have all the answers, that's because that's the purpose of this phase of the project, is to gather your input and inform the draft environmental document. And then when that draft environmental document is ready, we'll release that with a public hearing on the draft environmental document. And with that, have a selected preferred alternative. So again, any of the decisions about which alignments to use and what is the preferred alternative, those are decisions pretty far down the road from tonight until there's a final environmental document for town council ultimate approval. And I say this every single time for every project, that these types of environmental reviews are always done in the consideration and comparison to the no project alternative, meaning that all of this can go forward, we can study it and still decide this isn't for us. No decision has been made committing to any version of the project or to do the project forward in its entirety. So I do want to provide that feedback for you here tonight as we kick off the comment period as well. But if it were to be approved by the town council, we'd then look at property acquisitions that were anticipated, again in a partnership approach, not using any sort of condemnation, at least from the priorities and goals and objectives of the town council in other project deliveries. And so would be next following project approval, and then construction would be anticipated to start in 2029. So tonight, again, you can submit comments from a couple of different ways. Again, if you already submitted comments, you don't have to, but you're more than welcome to. You can do this by one of four ways, by submitting a comment in person tonight at this public meeting with a written comment card. And you can submit a comment on the project website at townofparadiseroads.com. You can submit a comment by email, paradiseroads@townofparadise.com, or you can always use the mail and send a written comment to Town of Paradise at 5555 Skyway, and attention, Lewis Johnson. And there's a QR code here on this if you wanted to scan that with your smartphone. That'll take you right to where you need to go and to submit a comment. So I'll leave this portion up, and I'll just look over to my right. Is there anything that I missed, Travis?
No.
All right.
Good.
Okay. So with that, really the next step for tonight is really to hear from you. And again, this might feel like a Q&A session, but it's really more of a listening session. Our team's going to be glad to answer any question you have to the best of our ability. But the kind of guiding part of this session is to make sure that we're hearing your feedback and then taking it back to find the answers, study the issue that you've raised, and then address that formally in the draft environmental document. But certainly no decisions have been made as far as, again, alignments or project advancement. So with that, we'll go ahead and start the public comment cards that we've received so far. And if you haven't filled one out yet, we can distribute those, or just simply go to raising your hand and we'll take our turn. And then with this amount of folks in the room, if we can try to keep it under 5 minutes, that would be great, so everyone gets a chance to speak. But if you need more time and we've finished with everyone having a chance to speak, you're more than welcome to get up again after everyone else is finished. So the first card I have is from John Ramalia.
Good evening, everybody. I'm going to start out with an almost apology. I'm going to piss some people off tonight. And quite frankly, I'm going to say what I think, and I don't care. First of all, the management of this project has failed dismally. This is an evacuation route. That's what people voted for as a priority when we first had these meetings over at the CMA Church right after the fire. They didn't ask for bike paths. They didn't ask for all this other stuff. In doing some research, we find out that Bennett Road was in the 70s planned to be pushed through, okay? It's number 3. This group that planned this project, you didn't talk to the town fire chief before you came up with these alignments. You didn't talk to the town fire marshal. You didn't talk to the state fire marshal. They have guidance documents for this kind of stuff. You didn't do your homework. Number 2, the first thing that the state fire marshal's office says in their trainings for evacuation routes is keep it simple. Not a lot of turns, just simple. Secondary evacuation routes, they only have to handle a 6,000-pound vehicle. They don't need to be 2-lane, wide open. It can be a simple, I'd like to see 18-foot gravel and call it good. The second thing is, I think everybody in this room will say they don't want people driving through their front yards. And the answer is, we've already done half the problem, is do the cheapest road that'll fit the need, number 1. Don't need any big bridges. You can put 5-6-foot culverts next to each other, 80 foot long, and meet your grades. The old Anchorway alignment, that soil over there, it can be drilled to a fairly steep angle and it'll hold. But keep it small and simple. And I don't think anybody wants a public thoroughfare running through their front yard. And the last thing is, Parks and Rec has 9 acres of property on Bennett Road that they are planning to develop a park. The problem is that that property does not have anything but private road accesses. If one person in any way they try and come in says no, that park can't go forward. I've talked to Al McGrehan, I've talked to Dan. They want the Bennett Road alignment. But I will agree with the people. They don't want a thoroughfare. Gate it, give the people clickers to get in and out of the gate, and just do something 18, 20 foot wide, gravel or tar and chip, whatever's the cheapest way to serve the intended purpose of what the people asked for right after the fire. Thank you.
Thank you, John. I don't have any other written cards, and so, oh. All right, next we'll go with Jim Clarkson.
Good evening. I'm Jim Clarkson, former planning commissioner, former business owner, and currently director of the Men's Legacy Center. And I want to thank you all for your efforts in this project to try to make Paradise a safer place for all of us to live. I have seen the proposal, and I believe for the most part, it's well thought out. I understand, like Mr. Amalia said, that people have private property down there that they often had felt would remain pretty reclusive in its nature. But the truth be told is we live in a city or a town, of paradise where many people live, and the infrastructure, had those streets actually existed originally, it wouldn't be an issue for them today. We have an opportunity for these streets to be added via the grants that are offered, which is something that not many towns or cities have the luxury of, and we're very fortunate for that. The town also has not been very fortunate in the manner of having recreational bike paths and areas for people to drive through to get from one area to another. And this affords us that luxury, so the town becomes a lot more amenable for people to commune with one another. I think that's a good thing. And I do have some concerns about the bridges that are proposed, because each of them are a curved bridge, and this town does have weather that sometimes can get below freezing, and my concerns, Mark, as you well know, is the potential for ice on those bridges. So that's the one concern I do have. I can tell you that Hudson's Appliance, one of the ladies who worked for me, Phyllis Salazar, and her husband died in the fire. They lived on Sawmill, and both Sawmill and Edgewood, because of the nature of them only having the Pearson Road opportunity to get out of that area, became a bottleneck where a lot of people died. And had these roads been in place, chances are a lot of those people would still be here today, and it would have also reduced the congestion up on Pearson Road, which potentially could have saved some lives of the people who were trying to evacuate that got caught up in that bottleneck. So I think overall, when just looking from the aspect of is this good for town safety? Is it good for just the town overall as opposed to individual property owners? Absolutely. I do understand that property owners may have objections, and I can sympathize with those objections, but I think this is a much greater need, and that's just my opinion. I thank you for the time.
All right. Thank you, Jim. My next card is from Scott Copley. I apologize.
Hi, I'm Scott Copley. I am the person at the end of the road. By looking at your pictures, yes, you are driving through my backyard. We have an issue of traffic. We have an issue of garbage. It is one of those things, I think it's kind of idiotic to funnel people back up a canyon into a cluster when it should be more logical to funnel them down the hill and out of the mountain. When it comes to fires, this is a once-in-a-lifetime deal for us. We were dealing with bad weather. We were dealing with bad forestry management. Town management of trees. I mean, we had a pine beetle infestation. We created this havoc that we had. I am a member of this town that lost my aunt in this fire. And putting in roads and bridges through people's property and running them to funnel them up into something, I don't think is a good idea. Number two, I don't want to deal with people racing through my backyard. I own that property down at the bottom of that road for my privacy, for my ag use. And as that gets taken away, I just end up in a neighborhood. And I could look at all three of you gentlemen. Would you be happy with me putting a road through your backyard? And these are the concerns that I have. I mean, I am looking at your pictures and literally your bridge is in my backyard and most likely going through my property. I think there's better ways we can go about it. I think John here had some good ideas of a gated road. In an emergency, have it hooked up to your sirens where it opens up. I mean, I didn't see the development as people were rebuilding on South Libby. I think that would have been something I would have took into consideration right away. Going, we have a narrow road, maybe we ought to think about widening it before everybody rebuilds. So poor planning is creating a situation for you guys. And it's upsetting people, it upsets me. I mean, these are the things that we need to look at. I mean, I understand that there needs to be routes. You know, in the days when Paradise was built, it was just built. There was no forethought of, hey, what can we do? People don't plan on growth. You could look through the state of California and see every town in this state never planned for growth. And that's one of the issues that we deal with and we're going to continue to deal with. But like I said, my main gripe is walking out and sitting in my backyard trying to have privacy when my privacy is taken away. So that's about all I got to say. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Scott. Next is Rob Robertson.
Good evening. How are you?
Great, thank you.
I just want to say that I will follow up anything that I say because there's no way I'm going to hit on everything here tonight that I've got in my list, and I'll follow up with a comment online and make sure that everything's there. But I can't speak for everybody. The identified roads that are going to cut across. My road is Wolf Lane off of South Libby. So I don't know what the other three are. I don't know what their current situation is, and I won't pretend to speak on anybody else's behalf. But I've done a lot of lot development on my lot where we lost our house there. I bought that house on that property in 1998 because it was a dead-end road. I've raised 4 children there. They rode their bikes up and down the street. We own the street. It's private. I don't want to lose that. My youngest son, who is now 22 years old, bought the lot next door to where we lost because he wanted to go back to that same environment. I'm sure there's a ton of people that moved to Paradise and parts of Paradise because they like the peace and quiet. You would be taking away my dead-end road, my dead-end street, my privacy, all of that. I've done some measurements on my road. The south end of my road, the south side of my street, the lots tend to be pretty narrow as far as depth goes. Anderson Construction is currently building a house directly across the street from my lot. From the building that he's building and the house that, from my neighbors that have already come back and rebuilt, both of them to the property line across the street on the north end of the street have 20 feet to 21 feet to the property line. Everybody that's on the north side of my road owns the road, so our property line. So I don't know what the setback is with the town approval. I spoke with Lewis earlier, but one of them would be the side of the house, the one would be the front of the house. But basically, you would end up having to take at least the 36 feet from my lot, because I don't see you guys encroaching on the neighbor across the street from me when he's got 20 feet to my property line, which includes the road. So that 36 feet would put you into my current leach field, which after the fire, we did the inspection. Our septic tank passed, our leach field, we had replaced our septic tank in 2004 and put a whole new leach field in. I've got a set of $9,000 house plans for my wife and I to retire and build a smaller home there now that our kids are grown and moving out of the house from the house that we bought after the fire that made it through the fire, because that was a cheaper option for us. I've brought back the water, the power. I've done the surveying that's required now to build. You take that 36 feet, my house plans planned on using that current septic tank. If you take my leach field, that pushes my house back, that puts me on top of the septic tank that's behind it. And if you take away my dead-end street, I would have no desire to go back there. My son would probably make that a starter home and move away in a few years, and then my wife and I will scrap that plan because I wouldn't want to go there. Not only that, but then what am I going to do with the property that I have left there? The property value is going to plummet. It's already plummeted because of the fire and what's happened up here, and lots are a dime a dozen. All the contractors are sucking them up in order to build homes. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's, for me personally, not speaking for everybody, but for me, I lost everything in that house except for my family, all gone. And now this project, if you chose Wolf Lane, and I can't come up with a better option because I can't imagine doing it to anybody else, but if you did it with Wolf Lane, then it's taken everything from me again. I've put $10,000 in plans, the septic, the survey, and all of that, and everything ready to go to build there once my daughter is the last one to move from home. And when she does, that was our plan, because we don't need 3,000 plus square feet for the two of us. So the only reason we didn't rebuild in 2020 is because COVID hit. And it just made sense to buy an existing home instead of building what we had plans for. So it's been a long process for us trying to go back there, and now this would rip everything out from underneath me. And I don't think that the town should be walking on its residents to make this happen. I don't think that you're going to see, I know you're not going to see a running, crowning timber fire. We don't have a timber fuel model in this town anymore. And the bottleneck in traffic trying to get people out of here was the main thoroughfares. It was Skyway, Neal, Clark, and Pence, everybody trying to go down. You're still taking all the laterals and you're going to put it on Pence or you're going to put it on Clark. You're still going to have that bottleneck when you get them across. The evacuation notices didn't go out. They didn't go out in time when they did. The possibility of us having that fire is not there. Not going to happen. So I'll put it in writing. I'll put it online so you guys can have it all to go over later. But that's in a nutshell what I had. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Rob. All right, yeah, I have gone through all the cards that I have, so if you'd like to come up and go one at a time, we really appreciate it.
So during the planning,
Oh, I'm sorry, could you come all the way forward so everyone can hear you, and then the folks online can hear you as well?
what was the measurable increase in the people that can safely exit Paradise per minute because of this project?
Yeah, I don't have the answer to that question right now.
Because that's really, it would evaluate the difference that it would make for our community. Do you know how many minutes this project would reduce in the evacuation time during a major wildfire event?
Well, it's really going to depend on the wildfire event, any sort of obstructions, like a stalled vehicle, out of gas, a tree down across the roadway, utility poles happened, and
Where?
so.
What utility? We don't have utility poles anymore?
No, what I said was utility poles happen. I'm making an example about obstructions across the roadway. I'm well aware about the utility poles coming down.
How could we find the answer to that? Because when I wrote the town and already, it just gave something very vague.
Yeah, so I'd love for you to submit those as part of your formal public comment, and they can be included in the analysis performed by the environmental team.
So my other question, it appears through the analysis and researching that the real problem is exiting onto 70 and 99. That the whole reason we are written up as being a high fire, a threat, blah, 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 is really 99 and 70, and that becomes a Caltrans problem. But if those issues are not resolved and the merging on, all this, so it's really, what are we doing to work on that? Because at this point in time, there's nothing submitted to really work on this most serious issue. And then the other reason we are categorized in the highest potential fire risk is because the land management is still not being cleaned. So being surrounded by the forests that are not being taken care of, we'll never get out of a high fire potential if the two major things aren't taken care of by evacuating onto 70 and 99 and the upkeep in the forest. And then my last question is, it has recently been brought to my attention that at the bottom of the Skyway, I think it's 136 house development has already been okay, and it's passed in a high fire zone and a flooding zone. So if we have 136 new houses being built at the very bottom of the Skyway, we really lose our Skyway evacuation because you're just going to hit this enormous bottleneck. So I'm assuming that's being brought into the plans because now that really limits Skyway.
Yeah.
And I don't hear that concern.
Well, I'm just, as far as you're talking about development on Skyway outside of town limits.
In Chico.
In
at
Chico,
the bottom,
okay.
136 houses have been okayed for development.
Okay.
A lot. That's that's just houses times that by 4 or 5 residents. That's so many people at that bottom.
Yeah, I can agree with that. That the county and city have approved different developments outside of town limits.
So it just really adds to our problem.
Okay.
Anyway.
Yeah, thank you. Are there any other public comments? Kathy?
Hey.
Hi.
Okay, so.
Or by name.
Who doesn't know?
Yeah.
I don't, but I've heard.
Okay. I've been off South Libby, Jeannie Lane for 35 years. Through the fire, both my neighbors were on fire. We all bought down there for peace and quiet and no traffic. If you go through and put this bike lane 36 wide road in there, I'm gonna have traffic noise, I'm gonna get pissed. And then when I get pissed, Elaine's gonna get pissed. And when Elaine gets pissed, God save you from John Romalia, because we know what happens there. I think that the 36 wide evacuation route is ridiculous. I don't think we even need an evacuation route. Who lives down there that doesn't know how to get out? Do we all know how to get out?
Yeah.
Going by there knowing that we don't have a fire?
We came back knowing that.
Right, we did. And if you didn't, and you don't know how to get out, don't buy your house down there.
Yeah. We have
You know, we're all on private lanes. We like the peace and quiet. I try not to be a bitch, but sometimes I have to be. Thank you.
Thank you, Kathy. Is there any more questions or comments? Yep. Okay, why don't we go?
Do I have to go up?
Yes, please. And then,
My name's Jennifer Edson. I'm fairly new to Paradise. Hi, nice to meet you. Likewise. I just recently bought a piece of property on Roe Road, and I just now discovered about the Roe Road Extension project. I think there's 5 phases, correct? And then you guys are just actively working on 1 and 1A, and 2 is in...
1A and 2, yes.
Okay. When do you anticipate 3, 4, and 5?
Yeah, at this point, there's no funding for the future phases beyond 1A and Phase 2.
Okay.
And so,
Well, my comment is, and I think I've already submitted it, just concentrate on concentrated neighborhoods. You know, give them extra ways to get out. And I agree, no lateral. It's just going to be used for traffickers. We all want to preserve the quality of life that we love up here. And the one reason why I bought my piece of land and spend the rest of my life here. So that's all I want to say.
thank you, Jennifer. Kathy?
I just want to back up my other Kathy. We live on Bennett Road, the private part that you want to put your road through. My neighbors and I. My dad's had property there for 55 years. It's always been private. Used to be East Roe Road. Turned into Bennett, I don't know when, after the corporation. But we bought it for the privacy, for the quiet, for the security, for the ability to have the animals. I mean, we would like to keep it that way. Having a through road. The other question I have too is where Bennett connects to Bennett is a hairpin turn right there. So making that through, I don't think that makes sense.
It'll go through off Anchor. It won't go through that hairpin when it turns to county. It's going to go before that.
The private part of Bennett?
The private part of Bennett, it won't go through there, but it'll go through the backyards of that.
Okay, I don't
So
know where
if you-
Anchor is.
Yep.
She's talking about the one at the end of South Libby there.
So right here is
I'm talking about where Bennett goes this way.
Yep.
Bennett that way. Okay, because I thought you were talking about this hairpin turn, and it goes down that way.
We're on, this is a private road.
And this right here is county.
Okay.
So for the,
But this is past, see, here's Libby. And so they want Edgewood to come through.
Can you just imagine everybody going to work through that?
so just for the folks online, I just want to take a moment to, Kathy's question was relating to the easterly portion of Bennett Road, east of South Libby, correct?
Which is private.
Which is private, and with this map in mind, no portion of the eastern leg of Bennett is being considered as part of the alternatives analysis on this project.
Oh.
And so if you look at the map, only the alternatives for Phase 1A that would connect Edgewood, Sawmill, and South Libby would be these 4 alternatives, whether it's Keller Lane, a combination of Wolf Lane, Roy Lane to Dunmoven, or Dottie Lane.
Okay.
So not the easterly
So
portion.
they've taken that off the table.
That's no longer being considered after the public comments that we received last year.
Okay. And the second question I had when you showed the bridges, wouldn't there need to be a bridge somewhere along the line between from Edgewood to get to Pearson? There's a creek.
Oh,
back
yeah.
there.
So a future phase to connect Edgewood to Pence, is that what you're saying?
Edgewood to Libby.
Edgewood to South Libby. So that's with these 4 alternatives, it does not require the use of a bridge on Phase 1A.
Okay. Well, you answered my question.
Yep, no problem. Would anybody else yes?
Can I come back up and add a comment?
Yeah, sure thing.
So, somebody made a comment about let's worry about getting to the valley. Highway 70, Highway 99, Skyway to 99 to get people out of here. I agree with that. I know that Lewis had said that's the county. So again, the town and the county need to talk to. I agree with that. These laterals don't need to go out to our existing exit routes out of the town. And what you guys just made the comment on is that these 2 phases are the only 2 that we have funding for. So if you go through with all this opposition of the residents down here that don't want it, and then the funding never comes through, then we're stuck with all this crap that we didn't want, and then we never see this thing go through. Why don't we take this funding that we've got right now Put it all into Skyway, Neal, Clark, Pence, the existing routes that we go down. If we can't punch down the canyon somewhere else and collaborate with our county to make that happen, to give a true additional exit route, then let's put it into the roads we already have. Let's improve them. We've already seen, we're beating ourselves up driving through town all the time, wanting to see all this positive growth in the town, and we look at all these houses and all these roads and all this undergrounding and every stuff happen, and then a house pops up, a road gets paved, and the very next rainstorm, we see nothing but debris across the driveways. We're not putting culverts in, we're not putting sidewalks in, we're not putting curbs in. Let's put it on the thoroughfares we've got. We've got the laterals. We could put money into Pearson. We could put it into Elliott. We could put it into Billy. We could put it into Wagstaff. Let's improve what we've got. We're not going to see the fire that we saw in 2018. We don't have that fuel model. It's never going to happen again. We don't have the population. We're not going to have the mass amount of people to get out of here for years. Let's put it into what we've got and prove what we have first before we make two phases of people pay the consequences for everything that may never see or come to light.
Thank you, Rob. Are there any other questions or comments?
One more time, please.
Why don't we give folks who haven't had a chance to speak yet?
They're more than welcome.
Yep, thank you. All right.
I don't know if you were calling me, but.
Sure. Great.
I'm Carol Wright, Edgewood Lane. All of these comments have been valid on both sides. I can see all of it. What Wolf Lane just said here, the little connecting roads going from Edgewood to Sawmill to South Libby, it just gets you from one dead end to another, not dead end, but everybody during the fires just trying to wait to get up to Pearson. So it would just be zigzagging through another snag. The thing with the funding, I realize these two have funding, but if we're hell-bent on doing this, could we reprioritize it, have phase 2 be 1A, get our major infrastructure in before we start messing around with everybody's little streets that, like he said, may or may not connect to anything later if we run out of funding with future projects.
Thank you. Well,
Like I said, I'm new. I'm just curious why we don't have a middle lane on Clark.
Clark's a highway.
Oh, it's a highway? Why can't we put so we can't put a middle lane on Clark?
so State Route 191 south of Pearson Road, which is also Clark Road, is owned and maintained by Caltrans, and they've done some widening work on State Route 191 between, just around town limits all the way down to 70.
So that-
And so right now, that's not in their state highway operations plan, but we
Okay,
can
so
definitely.
that's not something we can fund and put in ourselves?
No.
Okay.
Yep.
I would like to make a suggestion that we have another Q&A before it even goes into like environmental impact. I think, because this is the last meeting, correct?
Well, the comments tonight and along the public comments that we received through March 25th help inform a draft environmental document, which would then lead to another public hearing where we'd hear comments and questions about that document.
But that's the public hearing before approval. I'm just saying, if we can have another chance to talk and get more people in here to express their feeling about the project, I think we should be able to request it, or maybe you guys can consider inserting another meeting Q&A. That's all.
Thank you. Sir, did you have a question? Sorry. Thank you.
My name is Randy Heinke. My lot, right on the corner of Clark Road, right at that corner, I think you're better off going up Clark Road. I don't know how many times I've almost been hit. There's been many deadly accidents on that corner where you're trying to put an intersection in. And for your bridge that you have there, Pearson Road has a culvert and a fill. You don't need a bridge that's expensive. And I'm agreeing with a lot of these other people that just a small gravel road is probably good enough, because I wouldn't want to live with a major roadway right through my front driveway of my house or through the backyard. So my comment is with that corners being so deadly. There's been numerous accidents there that have killed people, so they just go too fast down Clark Road, but that's my comment. So.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Why can't we bring back,
Oh.
why can't we bring back some of the old roads that we used to have in town? Bennett used to come off through here and go right along behind the old Holly Hills and up behind the fire station. Why can't we bring that dirt road back? That would at least give people, a loop through, but, to build a major thoroughfare through here is ridiculous. We just need our old roads back.
Thank you, Kathy. All right, Chris?
Yeah.
All right, thank you.
Scott, Chris.
Oh, Scott, I'm sorry. There was a different Chris.
Whatever, you got them both right.
All right.
My question is, I'm looking at your picture here, and I have almost 3 acres of property right here. If you come through Clear Creek and come over the creek right there, I end up with 3/4 of an acre. So my ag use is gone, all my uses are gone. My family's plan is to plant fruit trees and stuff, help feed the community, do it as a hobby. But I'm looking at it, you're taking ag land away from people that are trying to live a different way. I mean, I understand everybody here has their grief about this. And I agree with you. How many years was the town established before we had this fire? So we're dealing with something, I mean, the community, if they're gonna look at stuff, don't look at things ass backwards. We need to start looking at other directions, because I already can tell you, the next big fire is up the hill. It's not here. I mean, you could drive around the pines and look at the pine needles in people's yards. I mean, as the guy everybody hates, Trump said, you need to sweep the yard. Yeah, I mean, so sweep the floors. I mean, and we need to clean up. We need to be more diligent about what we do. We need to get more active. I mean, I've been in this community for over 40 years. I've seen the crap that came around. I worked for the tree companies up here when I was a kid. And I've seen the crap that we had to deal with. We had to fight to take trees out.
Right?
Because it's all pure stupidity. You want to hug a tree, go hug a tree. But if I want to cut my tree down and it's in my way and I feel it's a danger, I'm going to cut my tree down. I mean, and this is something that falls back on every person in this room. It falls back on you guys due to the fact that nobody was doing their due diligence, getting rid of these bad trees. That's the reason these damn trees were falling in the road and blocking people's ways and stuff. Because you were already dealing with a dead tree. I mean, I come from a world, we need to use a little more common sense instead of sitting there trying to shuffle stuff under the rug and go, hey, let's put a bridge right here, let's put a bridge there. That'll change the problem. I gotta say, considering nobody in this town was freaking notified during that fire. I sat there, woke up to go to work that morning, and said, hey, it's really smoky out. Called my buddy down the street. Hey, you up and out? He goes, it's smoky out. What's up? We went and looked at the news. If everybody in this town wasn't waking up at 6 o'clock in the morning, it would be a dead town. Plain and simple. I mean, your news didn't tell anybody anything. Our community didn't tell us nothing.
Our communications didn't either if you called in.
What saved this town was the people of this town communicating with each other. My neighborhood was on fire when I left. Everybody in this room probably has the same story of going, hey, my neighborhood's on fire. And my niece, she was stuck on Pence Road because she works for in-home care, and she was up here picking people up from their houses. So I had to deal with an ant that burned up off of Bushman. I had my niece in a van telling me, going, I'm not going to make it. So as we go forward, we need to use some damn common sense. We got to quit with all the bureaucratic bullshit, pardon my language. We just need to make it right. We need to make the town function. And we need to quit worrying about painting a box in the town with flowers. I mean, I'm sorry. I'm seeing stuff that's coming around. I mean, we are I gotta give it to you. We are a blank slate. We have opportunities to do things. We have opportunities to make it right. We just need to figure out as a community, how can we do that the right way? And we're grasping. I understand. Everybody in this building deals with the crap that came from the fire. There's not a day during the summer when the fire doesn't kick up. I'm not looking around for the plume, going, where is it? But I'm still here. All these people are still here. We're going to continue to be here. So let's come up with a solution. We don't need a thoroughfare going through everybody's backyard, like I said. Mainly, like I said, I just looked at that, and it's right in my backyard. I just lost everything. There's all opportunities. There's many other ways we could come across that canyon and maybe get them down a little lower to come out. I'm sitting there looking at it. John, what's the grade on the canyon side?
I've got some places at 1-to-1.
So, we're going to deal with years of them blasting, because it's all lava cap, to try to get a road to go up like this. So I'm not seeing the common sense in it. So I'm sorry to yell at you guys, but I feel better. I hope you do.
I do.
But that's my grief at this point. So
Yep.
I don't want to lose my yard, the only yard I have, because I don't have a front yard. That is my front yard. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Scott.
Isn't Dottie, Roy, Wolf, and Keller all private lanes anyway?
Yes,
Every road on there is pretty much private.
yes.
So how are you going to get through that?
So, yeah, you bring up a great point. So if the project advances forward, the town would then look to the town council for guidance on how to proceed. And based on everything I've seen, is a priority to have a partnership first, volunteer acquisition process to where the town would go through an appraisal process and make offers for property. And if folks say no, then that informs the council about their abilities to deliver the project. And so, I just want to take a quick step back and say thank you all so much for these comments. They're so valuable to the process, and they mean a lot to us as staff who have also been personally affected by the fire, who have stood by this community and try and do the things that you've asked us to do, not just the group here tonight, but also the groups that have attended public meetings leading up from, the weeks after the fire and months after the fire, through the development of the transportation master plan, through COVID, trying to get public input on what to do with the different transportation analysis to try and improve and make Paradise a better place to live. And I want to absolutely empathize and understand and acknowledge the constraints of looking at an evacuation route project that serves long dead-end streets where people died. That is really heavy stuff, but at the end of the day, this is private property in areas where roads don't connect, and it's a very difficult conversation. I see you, Kathy. I just would like to finish.
That's
Okay,
fine.
and Kathy, two Kathys standing up. And so I just genuinely want to say thank you and let you know that I'm excited to show and demonstrate that this is a meaningful process, that it's going to be taken seriously. We have a great team working on this, and this is not a foregone conclusion. This is what recovery is about. It's about pouring your heart into something, and then if it works, great. If it doesn't, it doesn't. And we pivot and we adjust. And so this is the process, and your feedback is so valuable. That's going to guide us along that process. And so I'll finish there and just say, I hear you, and I want to continue to hear you. And so thank you again. So we'll go Kathy, then Kathy, and then.
You want to go first, Kathy?
Quick question, is
Well, hold on. There's.
being considered at all?
Yep. So I'll repeat that question for the folks online. The question in the room was, is eminent domain being considered at all? And at this point, no.
So if these people say, no, I don't want to sell my property, then boom, it's done?
So another person in the audience asked if folks say no, then the project, really.
I thought that you offered to buy.
Correct. So the question was, again, it'd be great if we could try and keep order and have folks come to the podium and ask a question so the people online can hear you, and I can restate that one. And so through the right-of-way acquisition process, how that works is the town would make an offer to purchase property, and if the answer is no, then the answer is no, and that tells the town on how to proceed or not to proceed. And again, that's how that process works. Okay. So thank you for coming forward.
My name's Rebecca Bettis. I live on California Way. And I want to thank you for all your hard work and for your listening. I understand the anger of people not wanting to have properties taken away, but I also don't want more people to die. And I do ride my bike, and I've seen many more people riding their bikes on South Libby, and I would appreciate the bike lanes. Me too.
Thank you.
Go ahead. No, go.
Okay. Jennifer, can you please come up to the microphone? Thank you.
So sorry. Is this, I'm sure you've said this a million times, is it if we don't use it, we lose it?
So the $33 million through the California Transportation Commission dedicated towards Phase 2 would, if we did not use it for this purpose, it would have to be deobligated and returned and not reallocated to a different project. The remaining kind of essentially half of the project funding could hypothetically be reallocated to different project priorities throughout town.
So it can be relocated?
About half of it.
It can be
To a smaller portion than half. Here we can go to, sorry. Okay, yep. So Phase 2 would essentially have to be returned 33 million of this and then the entirety of Phase 1A. The funds through HUD are a little bit more flexible. They could be allocated to other existing projects. And when I say existing, I'll go back to this map, the Skyway widening, Pence pathway, the signal at Pence and Skyway, Neal pathway. Those types of projects are projects that were originally in the action plan and the notices of intent.
But they cost too much.
No, these projects are actively funded as well.
On this map or actively funded?
Yes. All right. Oh, we have online comments? Okay. Okay. Do you want me to read it? Okay.
Sure.
Thank you so much. Okay.
If you can read that small.
Okay. The comment is Pence Road desperately needs bike lanes and road improvements and widening. Why is there not focus on this side of town where many residents do not drive vehicles? Thank you. Well, I want to say thank you for the comment, and I'll pass your phone back. And so it's actually perfect that this map is shown on the screen. Also, in the list of other projects, there's essentially 3 projects being delivered along the Pence Road corridor. The pathway to have the multi-use path, similar to what's already in front of Paradise Ridge Elementary School, is proposed to extend from Pearson all the way up to Skyway. A center two-way left turn lane is proposed to be added for the entire corridor between Pearson Road and Skyway. And then a traffic signal is proposed at the intersection of Skyway and Pence Signal. So those 3 projects are funded and in the similar project development process. So thank you for that online comment. Okay, we'll go Kathy and then Miss in the back. So Kathy, can you come up forward? Thank you.
I was just wondering if there might be any consideration to use some of this funding to make it more affordable to stay in Paradise and get people to move up here into Paradise with some incentive. We just dealt with, which is a completely different subject, but the sewer, we had to have our sewer inspected, dug up because the house it's existing after the fire. It was very expensive. There's a rumor from the people who did the work that you're going to have this done every 2 years now, but there's just these little things that are making it very hard to stay affordable just to live up here. So has there been any thought of maybe
So I
getting
can,
funds that way?
I'll just speak to the project funds here are not eligible to be reallocated to other community uses. They're purely transportation and disaster recovery infrastructure related. But I know there's different economic development priorities and initiatives to try and help reduce costs and incentivize Paradise community
This letter
needs.
came from the town and gave you 2 months, and it was very expensive. It was $2,000 just to have them inspect the sewer out of the blue. Now, I see if you had a new home and they've got the risers and you can tell where it was, but this home was built in 1960, and I don't think anybody's dug it up. It was in perfect condition. It ended up being a good thing.
Yep.
But I don't know where these come from. They cost us money, and it's just seems to be stacking up. So.
Yeah, thank you, Kathy. Is there any other comments about this project? Yes.
I'm sort of nervous to ask this question because I'm not sure if you went over it, but does the new roadway in this plan enable additional housing and a development to take place in that area?
So this project is not tied to any other development projects at all.
But could it lead to a lot more development in that area?
If people subdivide it.
Yeah, I don't know, I'm not aware of any other subdivision projects or, plans to subdivide any, large parcels down there.
So out of response to the man that spoke 2 or 3 people back, I had read the Butte County after fire report, and I'm curious if that was put into any of this. It was my understanding after reading that they had recently purchased a new community-wide communication system, and there had been no trial runs with it. The people hired in that area had not been trained to use it, and it was not staffed appropriately. They didn't have enough people ever set up to even staff it. So after reading the Butte County Fire Report, that was just very disturbing. And so I called Butte County and just really got the runaround. Nobody would tell me, has it had trial runs now? Is it properly staffed? Have the staff been trained? Are there enough people there? And they just weren't going to answer the question. So I'm curious, does the town even know that? I mean, that's like basic. And the Butte County was not going to answer that.
Well, I can't speak on behalf of Butte County, I'm sorry.
But I would think knowing that would tie into all the evacuation, those simple things have been covered that we're already paying for.
Would you mind sending an email to help articulate that issue so we could respond accordingly?
They're not going to answer.
Yep, that'd be great.
Thanks.
Thank you. Yes, John?
Okay, one last thing. We see that nobody wants this in their front yards, backyards, wherever. One thing that I want to bring up, and it's again from the fire standpoint, at this time, since 2021, 70% of the houses in that area would not be permitted, the lots be permitted to subdivide. In 2021, for any subdivision, you had to it became that you have to have 2 ways out within 1,500 feet. We have trailer parks, we have subdivisions and everything. Do a dirt road with a 20-foot cliff wide side. No, we don't need the bridges. I was up in Shasta Sunday taking pictures of what they've done on their evacuation routes out there. I actually looked even at the areas of the watersheds and the storm events, and 4 6-foot culverts can carry a lot of water and a heck of a lot more than Clear Creek. Gate the stuff. Nobody wants this stuff in their, in their front or backyard. Gate it. But in 50 years, if it's going like Clear Creek, vegetation is growing in the bottom, We've got 25, 30-foot tall bays down there right now. Until that's, we still have a threat. And either that's got to be addressed, and from what I understand, the Fire Safe Council's got a grant that hopefully we'll know about in the next 2 months. But we don't need super highways. We don't need space for bikes. Need somewhere where you can get out. The state requirement is 6,000 pound weight capacity for the secondary route. And you know, keep it simple. Made it way too complicated.
Thank you, John.
All right, I'm up. Listening to Rebecca, lives on California Way, known her for many years, love her to death. Love the bike lane idea. Love it. I ride a bike around town now too. So why don't we put this evacuation route into putting culverts in and a bike lane in on South Libby and Sawmill and Edgewood? That would give us 3 lanes out, right? And I'm probably going to get hung for this idea, but the only 2 roads that do meet face to face on Pearson is Sawmill. Why don't we put a roundabout to slow the traffic so the other roads can get out in case of evacuation? I personally am a fan of roundabouts. I know a lot of people don't know how to use them. But the bike lane thing would make 3 lanes out. I know for a fact on South Libby during that fire, I had multiple people come to my house because they know how I kept my yard and stayed at my house until we had to go. But they didn't want to be in that traffic. And I understand that panic. A lot of people panic in situations, but that would be a great idea, Rebecca. Love it. Love it. And culverts would be great, because then I wouldn't have to have a speed bump in front of my road to keep water from going down it, because that's right, it's private. And, you know, you guys just willy-nilly did South Libby to where everybody's front yards are probably screwed.
Thank you, Kathy. I've got one more comment online, and it reads, what if we built a gate operated remotely that would open during a disaster? And then it says, like Wolf Lane. And I think the question's been brought up about gating the project area, and that'll be reviewed and studied as part of the response. All right, Rob?
Time for one more?
Yeah, sure thing.
So just since we're on the bike path thing, and you guys, the bike path was obviously a priority because both you had a dual occupancy bike path in the first one at 42 feet, and then you narrowed it down, but you kept the bike path. Yeah, so the bike path is a big thing. I also ride my bike in town, and I live off of Pence now. I come over to the bike path that takes off right there at the candy shop there, Black Olive and Pearson, okay? Because I don't have a safe place to ride over there. But if we're gonna make in this type of a project, a bicycle path a priority, is there any progression or forethought to make in bicycle travel in this town a priority? Because when I come off of the bike path, or when they were doing construction for repaving some of the sections of the bike path, there's not a single light that I ever came to that will trigger for a bike. So I was either forced to walk in the crosswalk or run a red light on my bicycle. So we haven't done any infrastructure in the downtown area of the town to accommodate bicyclists. So why is it such a big priority in this to make it 36 feet long, wide and take more property from people down there when the town doesn't seem to have a priority to make bicycle travel within the downtown area a big thing? That's what I'm saying. Do we have a thought to make it connect with the town? Otherwise, what good does it do down there?
Yeah, I would just say in general, we have an active transportation plan, a part of our transportation master plan, that's definitely interested in building more bike paths to interconnect that again can double as emergency vehicle access or assets in an evacuation event. Pence Road is an example. I talked about that project. You know, overall trying to provide more connections and circulation amongst bikes between the Trailway, Pence, Pearson, potentially this project and others. And so if you're having any safety issues related to bicycle detection or traffic signal, I'd love to hear more about that. And then have our maintenance team take a look and see if there's anything that can be done. All right. Anyone else? I'm committed. I'll go all night.
You're a brave man.
Yeah. Anyone else would like to get up?
I have to have enough time to go home and write all this down.
Yeah. All right, sir. Yep.
You can do it.
Meetings are too long. God. I have a hard time speaking, but I'll be brief. I bought off of, what road do I live on?
You live on South
Carroll.
Street. Oh, yeah, Carroll too.
50-some years ago, and I wanted to be on a dead-end street, South Libby, and a dead-end street, Carroll Lane. I raised 5 kids, and I'm very conscious of traffic. We lost everything in the fire, and I thought, well, I'll just expand a little bit, and I moved from Carroll Lane to South Libby, and it's the dumbest mistake I ever made in my life. I never seen so much traffic on South Libby Road. I looked at my wife and I said, where the hell are all these people going?
Right.
But there is a lot of traffic on South Libby right now. And I fear that if we put a road in there, it's going to be hell.
You go.
Thank you, sir. All right, anyone else? Well, I'll bring this slide back up and just say again, tonight's just the beginning. Through March 25th, we're really looking for these comments to be written. You can do it again tonight in person. I'd be glad to help you if you need assistance writing that out on the project website, QR code, email, paradiseroads@townofparadise.com, by mail, send here to Town Hall, attention Lewis Johnson. Again, I just want to say thank you before we disperse. If you are interested in staying for a supplemental presentation relating to the climate resiliency plan that was taking place at Terry Ash, I believe folks will be here shortly to help do that. So if you'd like to stay for that, you're more than welcome to. Otherwise, I will say thank you. I am so thankful for your time, your energy, your comments, and we look forward to demonstrating those comments through the next steps of the project. All right, thank you.
No, I don't believe that. I don't believe that. The people before him